Mosaic College Night Live. This is our second MCN live, and we're pumped that you're here. We're gonna wait a few minutes to let more people jump on. YouTube can be a difficult place to navigate sometimes, so we're gonna wait a couple more minutes. But while we're waiting, maybe post something in the comments, shout out what you did today. What was the best thing? Whoa. Sorry. What was something you did today? Did you get outside? Was it sunny if you're in another state or in Eastern Washington? Let us know you're here.
Where are you watching from, too? Shout it out.
Yeah.
You know, what states are we in?
Who are you watching with? Who is with you that needs to learn about how to have healthy relationships? Is your dog with you? Does your dog need some help?
Your parents? Maybe you're watching on the big screen in the family den?
Down in the the movie theater room in the basement. Maybe. Nice.
Grace went on a walk. Good job, Grace. Hope you look so cute. Wow, thank you, Kelly. I showered today.
How about me, Grace? Is Mercy
Kelly
there?
Said that. Jojo Louie Life Group. Yes, people are coming. They just had Life Group ended right now, and now they're
Coming
watching.
Straight from Life Group. I like it. From Zoom to YouTube. Not that difficult of a transition. Imagine if you had to drive across town to get from Life Group to this right now.
You probably wouldn't be here.
Probably wouldn't make it.
Let's be honest.
And you'd be thinking, how do I have healthy relationships? I don't know. I wasn't able to make it in time.
Emma says you're rocking the haircut.
Rocking all of them.
Cliff
all the
did it for him, really.
Cliff helped me. My 3.5-year-old. He.
Kelly says you look great.
Oh well,
too.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you. Yes, thank you. The haircut, that was Cliff, primarily. But, I tuned it up a little bit.
We got people watching from Hawaii.
Hawaii.
Come on, Kayala. We got someone watching from Guadalajara, Mexico.
Nice.
Grace.
International.
We're really spanning the states and the oceans here.
Hope.
I didn't take geography.
I know you've been to Mexico.
I have.
But you don't
not Guadalajara.
have to cross an ocean to get
But
there.
Hawaii.
True chains. True. This is true.
Emma's song is asking if Cliff has available appointments for her because she's looking for a haircut.
He's not, well...
He's social distancing.
He's social distancing, so... But when we're back together, then maybe you could let him take a crack at it with his kid safety scissors.
Like jagged.
Yeah. Yeah.
It might be worth it, honestly, at this rate.
Yeah. Anything will do.
Macy's chiming in from Spokane. Hi, Macy.
Wonderful. We're sitting by this fireplace, and it's awesome, right? Doesn't this look great?
Beautiful.
It looks so cozy.
It
is very cozy sitting this close
I'm
to
inching like under this coffee table.
Yeah. So if you see the fire go off halfway through, you'll know what happened. We just started sweating too much on that side of our bodies.
I might catch on fire. I feel like this arm.
Hey, if you're just tuning in, we're waiting a couple more minutes for some more people to jump on, and then we're going to get started.
Everett, Washington. Bree, what's up, girl? Quentin and Yakima.
Nice. The yak.
Yeah.
Oh
gosh.
The Palm Springs of Washington.
Wow, I might need to take a vacation there, huh?
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Still getting warm over here.
That's great.
Well, y'all, it's going to be a great night. Pumped, so pumped that you're here. Really, that's a good spread geographically that we've got going there. Hey, if you aren't aware, we are doing a question and answer. So you can post questions in the comments, questions about how to have healthy relationships, everything from singleness. What does it look like to be single? What is God's desire for me being single when that is not my desire? Or what, any questions about singleness, questions about friendships? How do you have healthy, God-honoring friendships? Post those in the comments. And then questions about dating. How do you date in a way that honors other people, that honors the person you're dating, that honors God? Let's post questions in the comments, and we're going to try to get to as many as we can. But post them.
If you have any fun quarantine dating ideas that you want to share with your fellow peers, shout it out.
If you have some fun friendship quarantine ideas, post those as well.
If you have some fun single quarantine ideas. What have you been doing by yourself that you love?
True.
I like being alone sometimes.
That's kind of the idea of quarantine.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Well, we're going to get started here tonight. MCN Live. This is our second time doing this online. And tonight we're talking about relationships. How to have healthy relationships, from being single to having healthy friendships, all the way to dating. And we brought in some of the best. We have some special guests this evening. Hope, tell us more.
You guys, these people traveled far to be here with us tonight. One even traveled, by foot to join us. And so we are blessed tonight to get to hear from two incredible people. My, as Bubby likes to say, handsome hubby, Mario Lopez, is here with us tonight.
And here he comes, handsome as ever, the Mario Lopez. And ladies and gentlemen, my gorgeous wife, the fearless Ariel Graham.
Ari's the one that traveled by foot, so really give it up for her.
These are our special guests for the evening. Well, tonight we're talking about relationships, and we've already gotten a lot of comments throughout the week on Instagram, a lot of questions, a lot of things that people are wondering, and so we're gonna address some of those questions. But first, relationships. So you are a relational being. We're relational beings. God made us to be in relationships with other people. God himself is relational. He is the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, and in and of himself, he's showing us that he has this desire that we would be relational. We would have connections with other people, and he made us in his image to have connections with other people in that same way, and relationships are great. It's such a joy to have healthy relationships, and it's hard at the same time. It takes real work to have good friendships, to have healthy, God-honoring dating, and it takes a lot of work. And so tonight we're hoping to help, to give wisdom that we might have, though I don't feel like I feel like I'm just figuring this out too, but not dating. We're married now.
Ari laughs in agreement.
But we're in this with you, and we want to talk about how we can have healthy relationships, because they're hard and they take work. And we're gonna look at some scripture together, and just share some from our experience and what we've learned over the years. So first, actually, what we want to start off talking about is singleness. What does it mean to be single, or why am I single? If maybe you're thinking, I don't want to be single, but I am single, or maybe you want to be single and you're okay with that. But either way, I think it's helpful to start with this idea of singleness, and understand actually that God has great intention for us in being single, whether that is a season of life, whether it's a lifetime, that there is a purpose in being single. And 1 Corinthians 6:35, Paul spells this out for us. He says that he's talking about singleness, he's talking about marriage, but when he's talking about singleness, he says that there's a purpose for us to secure an undivided devotion to the Lord. Those are the words he uses, to secure an undivided devotion to the Lord. And the purpose from that passage we see is just that God intends for us. Actually, we all start out single. Nobody's born married, as funny as that sounds, or even dating. But in singleness, there's this opportunity that we have to set our hearts fully on Jesus. And it actually gets more difficult once you start adding other people into the picture, dating and into marriage. It gets more difficult to be undivided in your devotion to God. And so the purpose, as Paul says it there, is to secure an undivided devotion to Jesus. So, Hope, are there any questions? Did we get any questions about singleness? Anything popping up there? There's still time. You can get that comment in there. What do we got? What are you wondering at home?
Singleness questions. I have some that are like,
Yeah.
I'm single, but I'm about to or interested in
Bring it.
dating. One that maybe fits this is there a good and right time to be in a relationship or to start looking for one? So maybe, you're single before you start looking. So is there a good time or a right time to start looking for a relationship?
That's a great question. Anybody got some thoughts on this? What do we got? A good time to start to pursue a relationship with someone else. I'll say this. I heard this saying from a guy named Luke White, and he said that rather than looking for the right one, kind of who's going to be the right person, in singleness, our focus should be becoming the right one. Not looking for the person that's going to satisfy all our needs, because actually nobody ever will. You're never going to find the perfect person, but as we do everything we can to set our eyes on Jesus and kind of like take an inventory of our life and say, okay, have I really surrendered everything to God in my life? As we do that, as we really are focused on Jesus as much as we possibly can, God will put the person in the path that he has prepared for us. I know that's broad and ethereal. Ari, what you got?
I feel like that's true. I feel like that's when we met, was like,
Yeah.
I was finally not looking for a relationship, and and just focusing on my relationship with Jesus. And I feel like you came into my life when I was least expecting it and wasn't looking for it, and was just having so much fun in my relationship with Jesus, and like finding my identity and security in God. And I was just more confident in my relationship with God, and then you came out of nowhere.
Nice, Bubby.
No. Hey, I would say the same thing happened to me with Ari. My life was getting rocked by God, and then kind of like a month into this wild time of realizing who God really was and what he was really like and what it really meant to follow him, I meet Ari, and I was like, whoa, this is it just happened in I know that's not going to be the case for everyone, that it's going to look exactly like that, but as like it was just that same point that as I was fixed on God, he kind of put somebody in my path.
Yeah, I think that's good. Like you said, there's an opportunity when you're single that just the opportunity changes when you start dating, and the availability that you have to really run after Jesus and to pursue him and to fall in love with him and develop that relationship with him. I think that's the commonality, is like when I was fully focusing on him, I wasn't so much worried about when I was going to start dating or when the right time was. I was so focused on like, okay, how do I get the most out of this season? Like, I probably won't be single forever, but I am still single now, and I don't know how long that's going to last. So how do I keep running? How do I have a blast with my friends and love the people that I live in a house with? How do I be a good friend? Just all these things that would change when I did find the right person. And so I think before I was really focusing on Jesus, I was way more concerned about when will I start dating or when is the right time. And as I kind of took my eyes off of that and put them onto Jesus, like it just started happening. Like God was maturing me. That's not to say like once you start looking at Jesus, then you'll start dating. But yeah, my eyes were focused on him, and I guess the time question became, I don't know, it just wasn't as prevalent.
Word.
Singleness is awesome. I know it's hard. It's really hard. I wanted and thought that I would be married like right after college, and we didn't get married till I was 25, I want to say, which was different than what I had anticipated. But I'm so thankful looking back at just the timing of God, that he brought Mario at the perfect time, that he allowed me to mature and deepen in ways that I needed and that really helped me when I entered into marriage. And just thinking about all the amazing things I got to do with God. Like, we get to do amazing things now being married, but the availability that I had to like just go crazy for the kingdom of God, it was so special, and it's something that I can't ever really get back in that same way. And so really taking advantage of it and just making the most out of that season of life, because it doesn't last forever.
True. And maybe it may feel challenging if you see like two married couples talking about singleness. We were all single at one time. But I think that's spot on, to take advantage of the season of singleness, to take advantage of it, to get everything you can out of it, to do things that you wouldn't be able to when you're married, or if you're dating someone. There's not really another person that you have to consult when making some big decision, and just go for it. Risk with God. Take this as the time to spend gobs of amounts of time with Jesus, and yeah. What else we got? We got some more questions here, Hope.
Not on singleness.
That's all right. We can branch out into some questions about friendship. Maybe start getting into dating. I know there's a lot of questions there, but
we got one. How do you develop a friendship with a person that you had romantic feelings for, but they did not reciprocate? So you liked them, they didn't feel the same. How do you continue forward in relationship and in friendship? It's a good question. And probably a lot of people experience that.
yeah. Great question. I think, again, this kind of goes back to singleness, but friendships are super important. Having having healthy friendships is such an important part of living just overall a healthy life. Having a vibrant walk with God, it takes having people that you're close with that are encouraging you, challenging you, and people that you can have fun with. I mean, that's what friendship is. People that are going to be there for you when something's hard, and that does get tough when then there's this romantic element added, maybe even if you had gone on dates before, or if it's somebody that you just had feelings for. That's that is a tough situation. Any thoughts? That's a great question. I think maybe I'd say that if it's someone that you've shared these things with, if you've told them that you have feelings for them but there was nothing reciprocated, then I think I would say something about spending time together nonetheless in group settings and with other friends and helping kind of build some normalcy in that relationship again is a good way to go. If that feeling has never been shared, maybe the same thing could happen, is just spending time with them still in group settings or as a friend. I don't think it's a bad thing if you like someone and you hang out with them, especially in a group setting, like that's okay.
Yeah. It just reminds me of Proverbs 4, where it talks about keeping your heart, and this is so classic dating, but it's the word of God, and so it's true, but just being aware of how is my heart doing when I'm around this person? Like, is it bad for me, or is it like doing something in my heart to even be with them in a group setting and to be friends with them? And maybe that means like, okay, we're going to pause from hanging out for a little while because I am like reading into everything this person is doing, or I'm hoping and dreaming and my mind is just running wild, my thoughts. And so I think being aware of how your heart is doing in emotionally, spiritually, and then, yeah, you can totally, if you feel like, you know what, yes, I had feelings for this person, but I am okay being in the same room or being in a group with them, then that's awesome. You don't have to avoid them or, shy away and never be their friend any longer. I think just being aware of how your heart is, and if it's hard and if it's causing you trouble or to fall into lustful thoughts, or just where your mind is going when you do hang out with that person would be, I guess, the thing that I would think about.
Yeah. That is good advice. Recognizing what's going on under the surface, like, am I really attaching myself to this person? I maybe don't spend tons of time one-on-one with them. That I know that can be. We live in an incredible city. Seattle is awesome, and also there's, I think, some of how guys and girls relate with one another is great in that there's not always this expectation that there's romantic interest if a guy and a girl are friends. Nonetheless, I think it's important to recognize that a friendship can very easily develop into more and feelings towards one another, even one-sided, and just understanding what's going on in your heart. Am I attaching myself to this person when maybe there isn't really anything that's going to happen in the future? And it's a good word, hope.
Any tips for how to maintain a healthy relationship if you're a girl with a guy or if you're a guy with a girl? I think that's obviously where you feel this more is when you're getting deeper and closer with a friend. Just what does that look like to have healthy relationships with people of the opposite gender? Can you? What does it look like? What's helpful in those?
When I was in college, there was a girl that I was not thinking of romantically, and we both enjoyed doing some of the same things, and so we went and we went to this certain part of town and we're serving people. Now that I'm saying it, it sounds like I'm trying to sound so special and holy, but we were like serving at a shelter, and I had no romantic feelings towards her. I wasn't interested in pursuing a romantic relationship with her at all, and she did have feelings for me. I didn't know that, but her friends all came and told me, and they were like, you got to stop hanging out with her. And I was like, and they said, she thinks that more is happening than you think is happening. And I was clueless. Guys, men out there, if you're doing this, I'll say that you may be clueless.
She thinks you like her.
Yeah. You may be clueless like I was. I just had no idea. And it took her friends telling me, which I'm so thankful that they did. And I also probably could have just built some healthier boundaries, maybe brought some other friends with us, another guy or another gal with us. That would have been helpful.
I've never heard this story.
It's all coming out. Yeah.
Friendships, healthy friendships.
There's something significant also about before you're dating, the types of friendships you can build with for me, my brothers, my homies, my boys, for Ari, her gals, her ladies, I mean it, same gender relationships, building friendships there's something about doing that, building those friendships when you're single that it just gets more challenging later on. Yeah, I mean, I bet most of us, this was probably some of our friends' experiences around us, maybe. But like the second somebody starts dating someone, all of a sudden they disappear, and you're like, wait, where'd Billy go? We haven't seen that guy in like months. He's been gone, just hanging out with his girlfriend. Okay, I'm with you. This was also, I feel like I kind of did this at times in relationships, and I think there is a better way, and I think it's continuing to invest in those friendships, doing it as a single person, having solid people that you can depend on around you, guys and gals, and then also continuing those relationships if you do get into a dating relationship, continue investing in those friendships.
I think a good check for me was always, like, if I'm not dating right now, if I'm hanging out with a guy, what would have to change, or what would I need to change if I was in a relationship? Would I still be going on walks at night with Bob? I didn't really do this, to be honest, but am I still walking along the canal with Robert when I'm in a relationship? I don't know who these people are. Just asking yourself those questions. Would I be going to coffee one-on-one, once a week, and pouring out my heart and talking about like the things God's speaking to me and the hard things of my week? If Mario and I were together, I would hope that he wouldn't be doing that with other gals. And the same, I think, is true for me. So just even thinking about that, if I did start dating today, would my boyfriend, would my girlfriend be okay or feel comfortable in this relationship if I was doing this with a friend?
One thing I will add is I think that this is also just a good habit to kind of build before you even are in a relationship. Because if you're the guy or the gal that always hangs out with the other gender because it's easier to make relationships with them, that's just going to kind of carry over to when you actually are in a relationship. And the amount of times that I've heard hurt come from couples when a gal keeps hanging out with a guy or a guy keeps hanging out with a girl, and how that affects that relationship. It doesn't need to happen, but it can create a lot of hurt and distrust with people. And so I just think that even before dating, it's a really good habit to start to build with, like Bubby said, relationships with the same gender, and just trying to think of honoring the other person. If somebody else is interested in the person that you're not interested in, but then they think that, oh, they're always hanging out together, maybe they have something, or the potential of leading somebody on, like a question that might have been asked earlier. So that's one thing I'll just mention.
Word.
The girl will think you like them 90% of the time. Maybe 80, but I would.
same.
2 out of 2. So what's that? 100%.
Well, what if we work our way towards some more dating questions? And before we get into even more of the like, okay, we're actually dating now, what I want to say to all of you, regardless of where you're at in relationships, what's happened in the past or what is currently happening, even or you know what happened yesterday, there is a clean slate for you through Jesus. There's a clean slate now. There's a clean slate for you right now. All the hurt or the things that you've done or been done to you, there's a clean slate for you today. And hopefully, maybe there are some things tonight that will convict you and you'll go, oh, crap, that's me. My hope isn't that you feel, I think our hope isn't that you would just wallow in that, oh, I'm miserable, I'm dirt, but actually that you'd receive hope and encouragement that actually through Jesus, there is grace for you. There's a clean slate today, and we can move forward towards having healthy, God-honoring relationships.
Amen. We've all made mistakes, by the way.
Not me. Just kidding.
I have, I should say. Great. Some dating questions. And feel free, use the chat. People, send in questions. I know your name shows up, but hey, come on. This is a safe
Judgment-free
place.
zone.
We are family, and so you can ask hard questions no matter what it is. So bring it. All right, we got a question dating. What is it okay if I love Jesus but my boyfriend or girlfriend doesn't? And how do I navigate that?
Great question. What you got, Hope?
I was going to say no.
No.
Why, Ari?
Well, because, I mean, dating is supposed to lead to marriage or, I mean, if you're dating, you want to hopefully lead to marriage. And just thinking about the husband that you want to have, and like I would want him to love Jesus and be able to love and lead my family towards Jesus and to push me and challenge me. And I don't know if that's not the case in the beginning, then it's hard. I feel like you're always kind of pulling that person along with you, or like dragging them to where you are, whether they want to or not. And I feel like it's just better to date someone that you could see marrying, and if that is a quality that you want, then I don't know, start from the beginning.
Yeah. 2 Corinthians 6:14, do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. The idea is of two oxen plowing a field, and they have a common goal. And Ari she said it, like, you don't want to be like dragging somebody along, but if these two oxen don't have the same goal, they're gonna do a terrible job of either of their goals, because they're linked together. And dating is the pathway to marriage. And so in marriage, you need to have a common goal, which is Jesus. If you're a follower of Jesus, your goal is Jesus, and loving him, living for him, glorifying him, honoring him. And you just don't have the same goals, and that will become abundantly clear quickly. And yeah, this is why if you're following Jesus, you should be looking, if you are looking for someone, you are looking for someone who is also following Jesus. Dating it's a pathway to marriage. It's not a merry-go-round. It's not just something that you do for fun, but really dating is finding out, okay, this is leading towards marriage.
One time I think in a Young Life talk, there was, like, they did this example where a guy or a girl was standing on a chair and the other person was standing on the ground, and showing how, like, say one of you loves Jesus and the other doesn't, or isn't really following God. It is easier for the person on the ground to pull the person off the chair than it is for the person on the chair to pull somebody up. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like it's just easier to fall away from following God when you're dating someone that isn't following God than it is to change their heart completely and get them to where you are.
Yeah.
I think one thing I heard in learning about dating and how to date, and I told Hope this before, is I heard that when thinking about dating, and even more so about marriage, an important thing to think about is if I marry this, or if I were to date this person today and they were to never change, is this somebody who I'd want to marry? So that's not dating somebody. If the value of yours is to marry somebody who is God-fearing, loves Jesus, and wants to live a life that's sold out, then you probably shouldn't date somebody who doesn't love Jesus, and doesn't really look like they're on a path to getting there, just because it's probably going to lead to a lot of hurt down the road and disappointment. That doesn't mean give up on the person and think, oh, all right, well, they're a lost cause, but you can pray. If it's really, you really care about that person, you should probably pray for them anyways, that they would love Jesus and want to do a relationship with him, and probably encourage their friends, hey, you got to get Billy Bob on Jesus's team. You need to make him follow God, because I am interested and I want a man of God to lead me. And
that's good. I don't know if you caught that. I used Billy as an example earlier. Hope used Bob. Mario put them together and used Billy Bob as an example. So Billy Bob, if you're out there, I'm so sorry. We're not really talking about you.
It's time to come to the Lord, Billy Bob. A great question to go off of this. Someone asked, let's see, should the person you date be as spiritually mature as you when you start dating? So we kind of talked about the importance of, okay, we're equally yoked, we both love Jesus, but then how do you gauge someone's spiritual maturity if you're thinking or wanting to date them?
Something that I experienced in getting to know Ari as a friend before we started officially dating. And I think she experienced this too in a slightly different way, but there was a mutual challenge towards loving God more. Like, I heard Ari share her testimony with a group of people, and I was there, and I was like, this girl is incredible. She is amazing. She loves God, and I wanted to live for Jesus more after hearing her story. I think she would say there was a similar thing, but different, like maybe different aspects of me or my life that challenged her. If the person that you're interested in or thinking about doesn't in some way challenge or spur you on to love God more, maybe that's not the person that you should be seeking a relationship with. Maybe you should get to know them a little bit better in group settings, in a casual hangout with other friends, and maybe you do find out, oh wow, no, okay, this person really is challenging me and spurring me on just kind of by the example of their life. But there should be some sort of mutual challenge and spurring on. I've heard people describe the picture of you're running after Jesus. You're just running as fast as you can, and it's like you look to the side and you see somebody next to you running the same speed, and you grab hands and you keep running together.
That's good. I always prayed I think this was a concern of mine because I had dated people who were not as spiritually mature. They were Christian, but it was like, hey, did you spend time with God today? Have you read your Bible this month? Have you, do you have a relationship with Jesus? There were people that I dated before Mario that it was like, I'm kind of, yes, there were, I'm helping them grow in their relationship with God, which I just felt like God, after those experiences, encouraged me to pray for someone who would run just what you're saying at the same speed. An equal running partner is literally the thing that I would pray and ask God for. Like, God, I want someone that is running right alongside me and even at times like ahead of me so that I have to run faster, and that it could just be this kind of trade-off of like, okay, I'm on fire and now you're there too, and then you're on fire and then I'm there too. And so I think just thinking, what is this person's trajectory? Like, where are they headed in life? They might not be at 19 years old, like the pastor of the church or on mission, like they're 19. So obviously they're still working through some things. There's some identity and security and purity happening, but still, what's the trajectory of their life? Like, are they just sitting out on the street, like not pursuing Jesus, or are they making an effort and, taking serious steps? Are they trying to spend time with God? Are they walking in community and in relationship with others? And so there's not really like a performance checkbox of like, oh, he's preaching or he's a life group leader, or he's this, but what's the trajectory of this person's life? Where do I see them headed in life with God?
That's good.
If I could add something to that,
you can.
I think that spiritual maturity is a great way to start off thinking about it. But I think an almost more important question is also like, what is their spiritual trajectory? Is it somebody who, because that's not to say like if somebody's spiritually mature, but the person who just started following Jesus a week or a month ago, but they're like on fire. And I think that speaks volumes to people too. I don't think that people should feel ashamed if like I've only started following Jesus in 2020, and I've got a lot of ways to go before people start thinking that I'm spiritually mature. And I think that really seeing just how on fire they are and the trajectory they are on is somebody who will, like Hope said, be somebody to spur me on. And likewise, hopefully you are going to spur them on as well.
That's good. That's how our relationship was, is that Bubby had pretty much had a relationship with God his whole life since he was really little. And then when we met, I had just started following God and running after God that same year. But I feel like we were both on that same trajectory. Well, that's a hard word. Trajectory.
Amen.
Good. All right, so now you're in a relationship, guys. Congrats, you're dating Billy Bob, you're saved. Now you're dating Susie Jane. And the question is, how do you make sure to prioritize your relationship with Jesus over your boyfriend or girlfriend? Keeping Jesus first. How do you do it?
One thing that Bubby and I did while we were dating was to make sure that we each had spent time with God before we hung out together. I remember, maybe it wasn't our whole relationship, but I remember this was how many years ago?
7, 8,
9?
9.
Maybe. But we would, we would choose to spend time with God before we chose to spend time together, to prioritize that relationship with God individually.
It's helpful for me to know that nothing in my life will succeed if my personal relationship with Jesus doesn't succeed, if it isn't successful. It doesn't mean I need to like log a certain number of hours, read a certain number of chapters in my Bible. That's not like success. Success is like, am I growing in a love for Jesus, a fear of God, and obedience to him? And if I don't have a successful relationship with God, nothing else in my life will be successful by eternal standards. So just having that, this sounds intense. It is intense, but that mindset helps me. Now that motivates me to get up and like prioritize spending time with Jesus when I realize that I'm going to be a terrible husband, I'm going to be a terrible father, I'm going to be a terrible pastor, anything. You're going to be a terrible student if you don't first like stay connected to Jesus and love him and be with him.
It's just got to come first. I think exactly that. It'll make you a better boyfriend or girlfriend. And at the end of the day, if your relationship ends, if this dating relationship, it only ends two ways. You either get married or you break up. And so if you do break up, what are you going to have left? Are you going to have abandoned your friends? Are you going to have abandoned your relationship with Jesus because you invested everything into this one person that you didn't even end up in a committed covenant relationship with? And so thinking like, okay, if this relationship were to not last, will I still have a solid foundation in Jesus? Will my relationship with him be unshaken? And so how do you run after him and pursue him while dating in a way that he will be the thing that lasts? And just he's the only one that satisfies. So even if you're in this awesome dating relationship, that person is still going to fall short. And the same is true in marriage. Like marriage is incredible. My husband is awesome. And he's also not Jesus. And he can't be. And so that's the only thing we have. And he's the only one that can satisfy.
Can we get into some kind of nuts and bolts type things? There was a question about is there a question about clarity? What does that mean? Define clarity. This is great. Men, be clear in relationships. I think it was the great Devin Van Laar who said clarity is more romantic than flowers, or something like that, something to that effect. Clarity is key. And what does that mean? That means like start the relationship by having very clear communication, and start and end with clear communication. Hey, I would like to date you. Can I take you on a date on Wednesday night? And don't do it over text. Don't do it over Snapchat. Like, do it either in person, or if it has to be over the phone. I know we're kind of in a unique time right now, but
maybe FaceTime or something.
FaceTime, but clarity. Ask them on a date. Say, will you go on a date with me? Don't hang out and just call it like, hey, we're hanging out, or do you want to come over and play Xbox? That's not clear. If you like the person, ask them on a date. What would y'all say?
Yeah, I think make your intentions known. I think Mario is so clear. Like, I am interested in, he encouraged me, what he saw in me. I would like to pursue a relationship with you and get to know you in that context. Okay, now I'm not thinking like, does he just want to hang out because he thinks I'm fun? Like, it was very clear that he wanted to date me in a relationship that was different than a friendship. And so just making your intentions known is great, especially because it's so normal, at least in Seattle, for people to hang out and to do kind of date-like activities together. And then it can become unclear what actually is a date and what's just two people hanging out. So make your intentions known.
I think our generation too really likes to be passive and kind of avoid putting yourself out there in order to kind of protect yourself from being hurt, which is why I think clarity comes up a lot, because people are like, oh, we hung out, you guys never called it a date, or he enjoys me. Like, one thing that really was hard for me is when Hope and I were going on dates, not yet boyfriend and girlfriend, Hope never told me, like, I like you. Or even when we were dating, like, a few weeks into her being my girlfriend, she never said I liked you, but I would be clear to say, Hope, I like you, I enjoy spending time with you. And she would say,
I was figuring it out.
and Hope would say, "You're so awesome. It's so fun to hang out with you." But then we would literally be hanging out with other people, and she'd tell other guys, like, "You're awesome. It's so fun hanging out with you." And so there was one time when I was like, "Hope, I'm sorry. I don't really know how you feel. Like, do you like me?" And then obviously yes was the answer, because we were boyfriend and girlfriend. But there's just this uncomfortable place you sit in when you're like, are we dating or are we just hanging out? Does he like me? Does she not? And people will often try to use like words, similar words, to kind of avoid the hurt of like, oh, we stopped hanging out. Well, it's okay, we were never dating anyways. Kind of like, didn't do anything to me, didn't hurt my cred. And we were never going on dates, we were just hanging out. I didn't like her, I just thought it was fun to hang out with her. And like Bubby was mentioning earlier, lingo and the language you use is just really important. And it's super honoring. It makes the other person feel like everything is intentional and not just happening.
I think I said, I'm enjoying getting to know you in this way, just to, to my defense.
Clarity, if dating is a pathway to marriage, you imagine you're going on a walk through Discovery Park and you're on a path. You want like some clear markers. Okay, the lighthouse is that way. That's where we're headed. And then along the way, you're going to want some more. Discovery Park is confusing. You're going to want some more markers along the way. Okay, now you're here, and this is what's coming up next. The bluffs are coming up next, so be careful. Maybe some of y'all are in that spot in dating right now, but be careful. The bluffs are coming up, and then the path goes down the hill. And having clear conversations at the beginning, at the end, if it doesn't end in marriage, have a clear conversation. This is over. I don't know the right way to say that, because I never had this, because the relationships I had before didn't end well, or like I didn't end clear. But then even along the way, there are some markers along the road. Hey, how are we doing? Where are we at in our relationship? And girls, hey, don't be scared to ask for clarity. If you're scared that he's gonna like run away, if you say, hey, what's our relationship? Are we dating? Or are we? If he's if he's scared of that question, then maybe it's good that he goes away or is scared away. So don't be scared to ask him, not his friends. Ask him for clarity. And men, rise to the occasion. Be clear. What else we got?
Can we quickly explain the thermometer principle? Someone's asking, but we'll have to do it quick.
Mario?
Mario's good at this.
He is good at this.
I just had great teachers. I think Will has taught me this. Andrew Bach has also taught this. The thermometers are kind of they're really just testers or checks to see if your relationship is going, is in a healthy style. The thermometers, there are 4 of them. One would be spirituality. You have time that you spend together. Don't really.
Physical,
emotional, time, and spiritual. Commitment level. Yes. And so through this entire process of dating, every thermometer should kind of be at an equal level, I would say, with the one caveat being the physical thermometer, which you should try to keep as low as possible until you are married. And thermometers should raise over time. They shouldn't just like, we are dating, all our thermometers are halfway filled. And so what that can look like practically is, if you are just starting to date, you probably shouldn't be making out. You probably shouldn't be spending every single day or every single minute from the moment you wake to the moment you go to bed with each other. Probably shouldn't be having the deepest conversations about your heart. Just as Hope mentioned earlier, there's this proverb about guarding your heart. And when you kind of jump to those things right away, one, it's like, well, we're already this connected and everything, like where do we have to go from here? And then another reason is just protecting yourself. There's a lot that could be said about each specific thermometer and kind of what the consequences about raising one too quickly, and it's always easier to go forward than it is to go back. But it's just a quick check. I guess if you're at the 6-month mark and you're planning on dating for 2 years before you even think about getting engaged, you should probably think about how fast you want to raise those thermometers before you, if you're 2 months in and you already want to be spending half the day with each other, which would be a half-filled time thermometer, etc., knowing that things should be increasing steadily, and you have a month or a year and 10 months before you even think about getting engaged. Same thing with the other ones.
Yeah, it's just like connecting yourself to another person before you know that this is the person that you're going to be connected to the rest of your life, and it just spares you heartache if you take things slowly, way slower than we think that we should innately. Like, we want to take things quickly, but go slow and walk with people through this. Have somebody discipling you or friends that are keeping you accountable to this. Yeah, like Mario said, you're not, maybe when you first start dating, you probably shouldn't text all the time every day, or spend all day together. Really take it slow and see, okay, is this the person? It's so much harder to pull back in a relationship, to slow down. Ari knows this because I tried to do this for us, because I was like,
It went terribly.
It went terribly. So much easier to just go forward at a steady pace, slowly. Yes. Go ahead.
It's the whole start with the end in mind thing that we talked about earlier. If the end is marriage, then what are the things that I'm saving for marriage, and how close, like if I'm a freshman, if I'm a sophomore and I know like I'm not even going to get married till I graduate the earliest, then if I've already like raised those thermometers on all the different levels except for commitment, what else do we have left? Now we're dating for 4 years, but we've already done every single thing. We're already like worshiping and spending time with God and doing all these things that I want to do with my spouse. Like, you want to savor the things for marriage that get to be the gift of marriage. And so I think that was one thing that we try to think about, is like, man, what do we want to get to enjoy when we walk into the gift of marriage, and when we know that you're the person that I'm doing this with forever? Like, I don't want to think about Mario having spent time with God, worshiped, crying on his face with some other gal before he did that with me. Or just starting with the end in mind and thinking about what things I want to be able to carry into marriage, because it's so much easier to celebrate the things that you did get to save than to regret the things that you did do. I heard someone say this, you'll never regret what you didn't do. You'll always regret what you did do. And so the more that you can fight for yourself and for the other person, just the more you'll end up winning when you get to marriage.
Really quick thing. Really wise man, Will Offhammer, once told me when I was dating Hope, is kind of this idea of just really enjoying whatever season you're in. So sometimes, especially the physical thermometer can be really hard to keep low. But one way to kind of prolong that is keeping it low, at least, is, for example, he said, really get to know each other's hands, love each other's hands. And so holding hands, if that's like the first thing that you do, like really enjoy that, really be present. Like, I remember when I first held Hope's hand, I was like, wow, I am holding Hope's hand, and memorize it. Like, wow, Hope has
He actually did this, I
freckles on
remember.
the back of her
Staring
hand.
at my hand.
Hope has a scar on her third knuckle of her ring finger, or whatever it is, but like really just be present in that season. When you first put your arm around her, just like, wow, I can't believe we're this close.
SPU talent show, I remember.
Got him.
But really just yeah, enjoy the little things, be present, and don't always look forward to like, man, I can't wait till I get to kiss her for the first time, or I can't wait till we worship God together, but really just enjoy the season you're in.
Amen. I'll share one quick thing. I think this is a helpful, if you're thinking about physical boundaries, like we're dating and like what should our physical boundaries be? Philippians 4:8 says, finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. Could you describe your relationship that way physically? If not, like, these are things that, like, this sounds crazy, but, like, would you, if there's anything you wouldn't do in front of your parents, probably too far then. I know that sounds crazy, but whatever is true, honorable, just, pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, it's a great way to filter through, okay, should we be doing this? Anyway, physical boundary. What else? One more thought. Can I share one more thought? And then we're going to wrap this thing up. Any other? You guys can also share thoughts. So, hey, if somebody is going on dates, maybe they're going on a first, second, or third date, it really is helpful if the friends around don't put so much pressure on that relationship. We love to do this, but it's so helpful if they don't come back and get peppered with a zillion questions. How was it? Does he like you? What is it? What did he say? What did he not say? And those things are, I know that many people like doing this. I myself would like to do this if a good friend was going on a first date. I'd like to know. It just puts so much pressure on people. And then it feels like there's a lot of pressure if the relationship doesn't continue. What I would say is, like, as a community, could we be like a low pressure environment for dating that people can like really see, okay, is this someone that I'm interested in, and not draw their hearts out. Even all that extra talk, it like draws people's hearts out more and more toward another person. And just a side thought. Anybody else have some closing thoughts for us? Ari, Mario, Hope?
I think I would love for our dating culture to be so healthy that it's like, man, I can ask a girl out on a date, and if we go on 3 dates and we just realize,
Yes.
man, she's not the one, that's okay.
Yes.
Like, you can pursue a woman, or girl, you can be pursued, and if you don't end up with that person, it's okay. Like,
That's
is what
good.
dating is for, is to figure that out, and it doesn't always happen the first time. It didn't happen the first time for me. Praise God that it didn't. But we learn through that process, and I hope that in our college ministry and in our church, it could be so normal and so healthy to risk, to take that step and do it in such an honorable way that we can still be friends after, and it's not weird because we
Yes.
did it well, and we did it right, and we honored the person that we were pursuing or being pursued by. So that's my hope and prayer for our college ministry. And again, what Bubby said at the beginning, that this is a fresh start. You have a clean slate, like today and tomorrow. And so even if you feel like, man, I'm carrying baggage from the past, there's a fresh start for you
Amen.
today.
That's good.
Yeah, if you want more like one-on-one conversation, or to talk more about dating and relationships, you can contact any of us, and we would gladly meet up with you and talk with you and listen and give more advice and whatever wisdom we have about it.
I can tell you what not to do.
No, I can too.
Same.
Bubby and I both
Same.
can.
Maybe Mario's the only one that.
Well, we love y'all. Hope is going to leave you with this incredible